Welcome all y'all out there in Radio Land to the classroom of Professor Percy Pickem's Peerless Pigskin Predictions and Prognostications 101. Professor Percy Pickem, the freight train of pigskin pain and the master of point spread disaster. After much cogitation and coin flipping, the old professor has carefully prepared his lesson plan, and he's here with his weekly lecture on gridiron glory and his prodigious Pickem Pigskin Report. This week, there's a lot of gridiron grit on the schedule, so sharpen your number 2 pencils, get in your seats, open your books, and get ready to take some notes. The old professor's class is now in session.
This is Professor Percy Pickem, and welcome back to my Peerless Pigskin Predictions and Prognostications 101. You know, that old pigskin being full of air and pointy on both ends can bounce mighty peculiar sometimes, causing a terrible case of upset-itis, with symptoms of the aches and pains of offensive fumbleralgia, defensive dehydration, and wide to the right field goal fever, resulting in a severe Sunday morning headaches and a rash of armchair quarterbacking. So let's get out our student Dr. Kit stethoscopes and listen for the pigskin prognosis for this week's playmaking patients. Tennessee versus Georgia. Coach Butch Jones painstakingly picks a perishable pack of plump playmakers from his Knoxville orange orchard for a Saturday afternoon delivery into a Sanford Stadium supermarket filled with a SEC store full of 12th-ranked hairy dogs. The rambunctious Rocky Toppers will arrive firm and fresh into the delirious dog pound, but will wind up being squeezed between the hedges. Percy's pick, Georgia. North Carolina versus Clemson. It's going to be an awesome all-Carolina war between the states as the baby blue crew from Chapel Hill march south for an all-out ACC skirmish with a treacherous troop of testy Tigers. The striped kitty cats played a rootin'-tootin' Tallahassee overtime last week, but won't be sounding any retreat and will tag the tangling Tar Heelers with a bitter defeat. Percy's pick, the Clemson Tigers. Vanderbilt versus Kentucky. The tone-deaf Music City Wonders load up their wobbly wheel tour bus with a full repertoire of sad SEC country songs for a bodacious bluegrass battle of the bands with the lyrical lads of Lexington. The crooning Commodores' Tear in Your Beer song selection ain't exactly going to be the cat's meow and will lose to a fierce feline finale of My Old Kentucky Home. Percy's pick, Kentucky. Florida State versus NC State. Barring any last-minute script changes, this week's exciting episode of CSI Tallahassee will be entitled The Return of the Delinquent Quarterback, as a Seminole camera crew goes on location in a cinematic Carter Finley Stadium to tape a 60-minute program with a pesky pack of scene-stealing wolves. This ACC show will have plenty of confusing twists and turns along the way, but the number 1 ranked renegade detectives will solve the case before rolling the final credits. Percy's pick, Florida State. Baylor versus Iowa State. The burly beasts from the bustling banks of the Brazos amble audaciously into amiable aims, accurately aiming to crudely collapse the circulating cyclones. The wildly rotating, whirling dervishes will blow up a colossal cloud of confounding confusion in this stormy Big 12 slugfest, but the 7th-ranked bruising Baptist fuzzy wuzzies from Waco will be more than a home team can bear. Percy's pick, Baylor. Arkansas versus Texas A&M. The Porky Pig Skinners ponderously wander out of wondrous Whoop-Pig City into Jerry Jones's palatial pigskin palace in Arlington for an SEC trip back in time for an old Southwest Conference contest with the cool and crisp cadets of College Station. Curly Belima's brash ball-toting band of bacon-wrapped behemoths have been eating high on the hog lately off a small plate menu of lowly, unranked entrees, and will find a full-course serving of 6th-ranked Aggie steak with a garnish of gig'em way too much to digest. Percy's pick, Texas A&M. The old professor was in a small-town restaurant the other day, and I noticed one of the items on the menu was a double-wide salad. I told the waitress I never heard of a double-wide salad, and she told me it was for the poor customers who could not afford the house salad. guess what the old professor had for lunch? I'll be right back. We hope you enjoy the old professor's peerless predictions and prognostications on our weekly YouTube TV broadcast. We want you to know how much we appreciate your kind support. And please take a minute to share our show with all your football-loving friends. Now, back to the show. This is Professor Percy Pickem. Each week, my peerless pigskin predictions and prognostications are broadcast by the best radio stations in the land, like our good friends at WAAKK 94.7 in Ringgold, Georgia, and KFYN AM 1420 on your dial in Bonham, Texas, radio home of the Bonham Warriors. Now back to my peerless prognostications. Missouri versus South Carolina. A stocky squad of stout-hearted show-me staters stealthily skedaddle out of their comfy Columbia cat house for a bombastic, nail-biting barnyard battle with a furious flock of Steve Spurrier's slick chickens. The macho men of Mizzou mean to manage a massive mountain of maniacal mayhem on the 13th-ranked family of fiercely fighting fowls, but the striped kitty cats will wind up with just a mouthful of gamecock feathers. Percy's pick, in a close one, South Carolina. Texas versus Kansas. The ball-playing bovines of Weird Austin load up their Big Bertha bass drum to jingle and jangle on a jaunty journey to jam a jungle of jagged jayhawks in a rollicking range war for Big 12 grazing rights. The sturdy sons of the Sunflower State will surely be surly, but the leathery Longhorns will put a big old moo on the crimson and blue. Percy's pick, Hook 'em Horns, Texas. Duke versus Miami. There's going to be an action-packed all-ACC atrocious act of athletic activity as the bruising Blue Devils brashly barge into the evil eye of a wildly rotating hurricane down in multilingual Miami. The counterclockwise circulating Canes are calculating the coastal comeuppance before the cheering home crowd, while Coach David Cutcliffe's dynamic Dukes of Durham are dead set on keeping their victory boat afloat. Percy's pick, in a mild upset, Duke. Memphis versus Ole Miss. A bawdy bunch of bold Beale Street bashers loosely lace up their blue suede ball shoes for a rebellious rock and roll rebel land reunion with the red and blue righteous dudes of Deep Dixie. The Gridiron Gang from Graceland will conspicuously show up in a flashy hot pink Cadillac, but the 10th-ranked Johnny Rebs will do exactly what the Blue Suede Shoe song says to do. They're going to burn the house or steal the car, while the tailgating gang in the Grove will be drinking Memphis liquor from a Bluff City fruit jar. Percy's pick, don't step on my blue suede shoes, Ole Miss. Well, it's time to take a short break here, but not before we take a brief moment to remember one of the best sports radio reporters and announcers in college football. The Ole Miss sideline went silent last week with the sudden passing of our good friend Stan Sandroni, but his down-to-earth style, his unique sense of humor, and his devotion to his many friends and loving family will long be remembered. Rest in peace, Stan. We'll be right back.
Southern artist Larry Womble has a collection of art prints from your favorite college towns. Visit LarryWomble.com to view the array of prints and place an order for yourself or as a special gift. LarryWomble.com.
Well, it appears the old scoreboard clock is winding down to the 2-minute warning, but we still have plenty of time for the old professor's peerless quick picks and pronto prognostications. There's no timeouts left, so listen up. Wisconsin will be rude to USF. Ohio State bucks Cincinnati. Iowa punches out Purdue. Utah beats Washington State. LSU loads up on New Mexico State. USC over Oregon State. California rebuffs Colorado. Auburn tackles Louisiana Tech. Rice, Chopsticks, Southern Miss, and Michigan State puts a yippee-tie-yay roping on the Wyoming Cowboys. Well, that's about all we got for today, but we look forward to being back with you again next week for another fun classroom lecture of my peerless pigskin predictions and prognostications 101. We'll be right here on your favorite radio station, our Facebook page, or on our YouTube TV show. Just look for old Professor Percy Pickem. That's P-I-C-K-E-M, Professor Percy Pickem. So long for now, and thanks so much for listening. And as the old professor's dear friend Larry Womble always says, we may not win every game, but we ain't never lost a party.
Professor Percy Pickem is a production of CRM Sports. For more, log on to y'all.com or share the podcast in the iTunes Store.